Welcome to all the high vibrational beings who resonate with my channel. Today, I'm going to jump right into a download I just received from my spirit team regarding authority. And it came to me while I was reading this is an black elderberry supplement that I'm currently taking. And I just wanted to remind myself what the recommended dosage was. And then I kind of go from there. Just so I have a base. And I continued to read though after the amount, and it says specifically, hold on one second. I guess it's a little dark right now. I need my light. Sorry. Come on. Oh, we have somebody who wants to join us. Um, Directed by, sorry, here. It's really small, the rating. So you take so many per day or as directed by a healthcare professional. I, as a person who has been into holistic health and wellness for 20 some years now, and has really gotten to a good place where I've mastered it. Because I know how to, detox a body, fast, intermittent fast, basically rebalance a whole body to every system, to the immune system, to the microbiome, which is not talked about, but should be. So I will be making more videos about that whole topic. And I'm very excited about that because I've got a lot of really good information that's been working for me for years now. And so anyways, that's the point that I'm getting at is I'm very versed in, holistic health and wellness. And when I read that, must, consult with a healthcare professional for, a minuscule of a part of a second, my mind wanted to go back to an old program space of, oh, I got to tell them about this. Okay, so elderberry should be taken by everybody. Just let's put it across the board. There is no reason that somebody would need to get another person's opinion on that. If you know any small amount of information on elderberry, it's very helpful for our immune system. So there should be no question. There should be not going to another human being to ask their professional opinion. So, okay, I had this minuscule of a second where my mind went, oh, I have to do that. Not really, but yeah, like what that was. And this is why my spirit team has guided me to speak on this today is because that was a minute or not a minute, a minuscule of a second where the powers that were, the matrix was trying to grab hold of my mind and control with authority. Authority is the powers that were corporations, the top 1% of the, most wealthy in our world. And then you have authority that some of us, not everybody, has encountered within our family dynamic, the emotionally immature, narcissistic, karmic, dysfunctionally toxic family that you would have grown up in, especially if you resonate with my channel. So this moment of having this discussion about authority was downloaded into my head because I started having this flow state connection about it. Because for me, it was an issue till I was 40. I literally told every therapist for 5 years that I feared my father until 40. I remember that first therapist I started with at the beginning. And, I had said initially, like, when they ask, like, what are your thoughts or what do you remember about your dad, that type of a question. And I was like, I mean, I can tell you this because it sticks out in my mind, and I've asked other people and they don't feel this way. And so that's interesting. I fear my father. At the time I did. So this is 7 years ago. And, I was like, I fear my father in a way that feels a little unhealthy, like not rational. And I'd like to know why. Why is that happening? Because I've asked a lot of people, other humans, and they just look at me like when I'd say, "So you don't fear your father?" They'd be like, "What?" No. And I remember every person I've come across because just their look. And so for me, that was embedded and burned into my brain of, huh. So the more and more I'd ask, the more and more of an anomaly I felt, where I was like, okay, that's not the normal then. What has made me different in the environment that I grew up in? Which one of these is not like the other, sort of thing, But what has made me different, or what happened differently within my experience of life that not everybody is experiencing? These are the constant questions that I ask myself. I love this. This is like basically a puzzle now. This has become a scavenger hunt. This is like an investigation, like I look at it as, ooh, it's a problem to solve, because I am somebody who recognizes the inconsistencies in things. And when I am an inconsistency, which I'd found that to be pretty consistent in my life, that's what makes you ask questions. So that's the thing, though, that was shut down in me as a child by my dad, by his creating this authority figure in himself. That's how I ended up seeing. And, that was by all the abuse that had been done, just everything, the constantly being ridiculed and told to shut the fuck up. And, just if you've been through this, you get it. So I have this overall fear of authority because I would talk about this with my therapist. And I was like, yeah, that's interesting, And it wasn't until I started recognizing that there was a spiritual side when I ran into another current guide that I reach out to for guidance. And she's somebody who I found through the YouTube algorithm. And again, if you're working through anything algorithms, you always have to discern, because the algorithms are constantly sending you good and like positive and negative vibrations. They're just constantly coming at you. So you have to discern. And this is part of the discerning process, right? Let me step back to the family side of authority and having this huge word of authority that was wrapped around my dad, and how I just feared this person because of his authority that he put over me, right? And it is something for me that was losing my train of thought. Hold on. Okay, so where I was trying to go with that is that I had this irrational fear. I mean, it was rational because of what I experienced growing up. I was, when you're in constant abuse and, having to be on guard as a highly sensitive and as an empathic, I mean, it's very scary because you're not just visually seeing it, you're feeling it so much deeper than the average human being would. That's not as sensitive or as empathic, in tune with that. And as a survival mechanism for a lot of us, we've learned how to make that. We tuned in so much to that feeling of the energy so that we could prepare ourselves for this authority figure that would always come in. And you were like, how do I need to react? If I can feel it first, then I can prepare myself for what's to come. So that becomes your superhero power, right? Because you hone that in. So that's how you know how to feel other people, other people's energies. You're natural at knowing their energy. So my dad created this around me, and therefore I had created this space for myself for 40 years where I was so scared to ask questions because that's how much he shut down my throat, my voice, my throat chakra, just all that. Again, through the abuse, all the abuses. And so that was the product of a narcissist. And I did not know this for 40 years. Had I known this, I could have rationally been like, I can't help them. I can never help him. Like, because I can now tell somebody who is like a narcissist who may want to heal, because it can happen. I'm proof of that, because even though I'm not innately a narcissist, I was raised in a narcissistic environment. Therefore, I had narcissistic qualities that I was unconsciously gravitating to due to process of elimination. Think about that. Wrap your head around that. I remember my first thought on that is I was like, ew, I'm a fucking narcissist. Ew. But really what all that means is you're just unhealed. You're not taking the time to heal your wounds. And more importantly, your childhood wounds. And the longer they stay in you, the more physical issues you see, the more mental issues you'll see, and so forth, And I saw that, early on in my life, that was something I never wanted to acquire. I never wanted to get the arthritis like was on my dad's side of the family that had incest. I never wanted to get the mental illness that also existed on his side, but that also existed big time on my mom's side. And, I could have gone into all of that. And my life along the way kept throwing me people to show me, here, this is what, if you keep down this path, this is where it's going to take you. I dated a bipolar, a manic bipolar for 10 years. And then finally they were sending me narcissists throughout my time, but I didn't understand what a narcissist is because people don't talk about it. And the reason people don't talk about what a narcissist is because the people that are the narcissists are telling you that they don't exist, because they don't want to out themselves. They don't want you to know who they are. They want to keep you unawakened to this, right? So of course I got shut down on understanding. And then our society as a whole so I didn't really even have an understanding of what a narcissist was until I dated the super con man, because there was a con man before him and somebody was trying to wake me up to that concept. But again, I was so entrained by the society that I was like, oh, narcissist, she's just throwing that term out there because he did something, or he did something to her and she's trying to get back at him. It's insane. That's an insane thought, but that's what a narcissist spins it into to make other people think, right? So if you are receiving a lot of narcissists coming into your life, I now understand that looking back on this, that should have and should be for any of you, but should have been for me, my indicator that's, this is why I fear my father until 40. There's no question about it. He's a narcissist. He's gonna, they're mean to the kid. Like some narcissists will go as far as they don't care if their kids die. They don't care who dies around them, period. They don't love themselves. They don't care if they die, So they're definitely not going to care if anybody else. It doesn't have to mean it. You don't have to say especially their kids. Any other person besides them is expendable, And to have that understanding is not to put a label on somebody. It's to not give your energy to the wrong beings. And this is important for a highly sensitive and an empathic person, that until you realize, that you have to heal yourself and help yourself before you can help others. I mean, in that sense. And also that, it's not about helping others, until it's about guiding if you want to do that too. But sorry, I kind of lost where I was going with that because I veered too much. My bad. Give me a minute. Okay, so it is about understanding the type of person that you're interacting with so that you can make an educated decision on if you want to let them in your energy. And this becomes important when a narcissist is trying to con you. So let's say they're coming in with niceness and, love bombing you and very, just trying to trick you into thinking that they're a kind person. And instead you find out they're just being nice. And nice is not okay. Nice is what narcissists do. They are trying to act nice because they don't know how to be kind genuinely and with integrity. So this is why it is important to have this understanding around what a narcissist can look like. And that person of authority for me was a narcissist. And I didn't understand that for the first 40 years of my life. Had I understood that earlier, I could have grasped that. And because what had basically happened then is for those 40 years when I was trying because I had been trying to heal for 20 years up until that 40-year point. That's why I kept getting pulled back down, because I still had energetic cords tied to my family because I didn't know they were evil to the point where they don't care about me. They are trying to literally throw me under the bus. And I thought that they were people that, were hurt, which that is what it is. However, they're so hurt that they have lost, any connection to any feelings whatsoever. Their pain thresholds are really, really high. That would be another characteristic. But that's important to understand, because then you'll know what if you during that time period, since I still had my energy cords tied to them in the way that I wasn't away from them to always be away from them. I was away from them to heal. And then I planned to come back and be like, hey, look at it. And I knew innately that there was something I needed to keep in, or there was a reason that I needed to get away from them to heal. But I didn't. And now I know what that thing was. It was that they were narcissistic. I shouldn't have been around them to begin with. So the whole getting away should have stayed permanent. But because I didn't know that they were, I always thought that I'd be able to come back in, offer out my, here, I'm healed. I can help you heal if that's what you want. And if you don't, I would have at least been strong enough to accept them for who they are, right? That's where my head was. So therefore, because of that thought process, I was giving a narcissist an easy, car-free freeway entrance into my energy space to continuously keep siphoning my energy, which is why I always felt so exhausted through that time period. So if you think back, and if you're in a place where you're exhausted, think about who your energy cord could still be attached to. Think about the fact that, are they somebody that is doing things that others aren't doing to people? We are supposed to look for this in our outside of family life. And I'm going to get into that next here in a second. But that's the thing is that this authority can exist within your internal family in a way where you may not know, but you need to know. Because once I was able to see that, I could detach my energy cords, and damn, did I start getting my energy back. Yeah. Now, okay, so there was that. I wanted to just speak on that really quick. So regarding the internal family authority that can exist, recognizing you know, if they're narcissistic, that you're going to have to cut the ties of thinking like that. Because you're only hurting yourself if you don't cut that energetic tie. You may physically be away from them like I was, but I was still energetically connected to them because I was still giving them my love from a distance by thinking about them, missing them, you know, worried about them. And they were not about me because they just were like, give it, give it, give it, give it. Give me your energy, right? And so, sorry, I'm a little itchy on my face. I don't know if it's my hat or if I'm getting download itches. Anyways, so then there's the authority that can exist within, obviously, the powers that were. And the powers that were consist of corporations, banks, you know, insurance companies, basically all the corporations, the top 1% that contain the top 1% of the money in the world. They're in control of the matrix, right? And so when you're a highly sensitive person and an empathic person, like you would be if you resonate with my channel, you're also going to more than likely be a generational trauma breaker, curse breaker. And that makes you more prone to spiritual attacks, not just from your own family, if you haven't cut off the energetic cord, but also from the powers that were. They know when your light gets brighter, because when you're healing, your light gets brighter, and they know it. So they will attack. You need to this is why spiritual cleansing and protection is so important daily in your healing. And again, I did not know this right away. And I have been able to see the difference from having some healing time without spiritual understanding, and then having healing time with spiritual understanding, incorporating protection and cleansing night and day. So definitely recommend that. And because it's little things like this, by seeing, this as directed by a healthcare professional, or, reach out to them. No, it's everybody take your elderberry, like ridiculous. That is insane. I just started laughing, and then that's when my download came in, and it really started making me think about how authority tries to hold on to you. So, and then I had this download this is the way that the powers that were try to control you through energy, because you'd be like, oh, must follow instructions, right? And it's, no. And so there's that. But once you're aware and you put your awareness around something and you catch it, you go, oh, nope, I'm good. I have my freedom. I have my freedom. I am sovereign. This is my sovereignty. And you will not receive my sovereignty, my freedom, and my inheritance, So, but the way that they can get it is by, abiding by authority. And until you learn, these are just ways that, you can help cut yourself off from it to ensure that you are within your sovereignty and your freedom. So I think that's all I was going to say about that. I will just say thank you for listening and sending out my love and gratitude.